By Design Episode 1. Every civilization has asked the same question. Where did we come from? Darwin gave us one answer. Genesis gave us another. The Sumerians, another still. But what if all of them are looking at different pieces of the same puzzle? Several decades ago, I had a dream. Not an ordinary dream, one that has stayed with me ever since. It began high above a vast tropical forest. Warm, humid, alive. The canopy stretched to every horizon, except, in the middle, stood a structure that absolutely did not belong. It wasn't primitive. It wasn't ancient. It looked engineered, as though someone had quietly placed a 21st century research facility in the middle of a prehistoric Earth. I found myself moving toward it. Then inside, what I saw made no sense. Primitive hominids, creatures resembling Australopithecus, were being brought into the building. But that wasn't what came out. Dreams communicate symbolically. I don't believe I was literally watching adults transformed into another species. I believe I was witnessing genetic engineering, not surgery, not evolution, design, as though someone was rewriting biology itself. Then the scene changed. I found myself standing inside an elevator. Beside me stood a woman. If memory serves me correctly, we were both wearing lab coats. She looked almost human, except for one astonishing detail. Her face was unmistakably feline. Not a costume, not makeup, simply who she was. I remember feeling fascinated. I asked her, "Where are you from?" She looked at me as though I had asked the most absurd question imaginable. She never answered. She didn't need to. Her expression said everything. Why would you ask where I'm from? At the time, I assumed she would tell me a star system. Sirius, the Pleiades, Arcturus, anywhere but Earth. Instead, nothing, only that look. Years later, someone offered me an interpretation. Perhaps the question itself reflected the limitation of human consciousness. Perhaps souls entering Earth forget not only previous lives, but previous worlds. If that were true, asking where someone came from would indeed become a meaningless question. Years later, I was given an interpretation I had never considered. I was told, "You weren't observing the engineers. You were one of them." The purpose of the facility wasn't creating humanity. It was improving it. The explanation continued. The hominid bodies already existing on Earth were inadequate for the consciousness preparing to incarnate here. Too primitive, too limited, too coarse. They were hairy. They smelled. They leaked. Apparently, there had been complaints. Enough complaints that something had to be done. And so, according to this interpretation, someone redesigned the vehicle. The body became more refined, the nervous system more sophisticated, the brain capable of supporting something greater. Then, the engineers themselves eventually entered the experiment, not merely designing humanity, becoming humanity. Normally, I would dismiss a dream like this as nothing more than imagination, except, strangely, similar themes appear elsewhere. Ancient myths describing beings descending from the heavens, the enigmatic Sumerian traditions, stories of gods creating mankind, modern speculation about directed evolution. None prove anything, but they ask interesting questions, questions mainstream history rarely entertains. Whether the dream was symbolic, psychological, spiritual, or something else entirely, I no longer know. But one question refuses to leave me. What if evolution and engineering were never mutually exclusive? What if natural selection explains the biological process, while intelligence occasionally altered its direction? And what if consciousness itself didn't originate here at all? Perhaps humanity isn't simply the product of random mutation. Perhaps we are, quite literally, by design. Or perhaps that possibility is simply another story we tell ourselves while trying to answer the oldest question ever asked. Who are we?